3I Atlas, the strange interstellar comet that defies everything we know and keeps doing so. We have new pictures and we have new comments from Harvard professor Avi Loeb.
You're looking at a piece of what would have become a planet in another star system. This is a building block from somebody else's home.
The peculiar thing about it is that it's moving along a trajectory that is very special. When it arrives closest to the sun, the Earth would be on the opposite side and we won't be able to observe it. But that's exactly the time when it could do a maneuver to slow down and visit us. And one wonders whether this trajectory was designed by some extraterrestrial intelligence.
And he gives us new information about the new pictures, that there's new strange changes and developments in 3I Atlas that are not normal. We will look into everything we know so far in this video from a scientific point of view and not with a tinfoil hat. But it's still mind-blowing, guys, and it's a little bit scary, I still have to say. What is 3I Atlas? This comet is one of the most mysterious objects to ever enter our solar system. This is a fact that we already do not dispute. It's the third confirmed interstellar object, so it means it comes from another star system entirely, not from ours. And it's just passing through before disappearing, hopefully, back into deep space forever. It was discovered on July 1st, 2025 by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS. That's why its name is ATLAS. That's the telescope in Rio Hurtado in Chile, and it's moving on a hyperbolic trajectory, which means it is not bound to the sun's gravity. So this makes it only the third known object of its kind after Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. But compared to the other two, Atlas is way more complex and strange, weird, mysterious, and it somewhat gets stranger by the day. It seems all the findings do not give us more answers that are reassuring us this is all good. We find more and more that basically tell us we have no idea.
This is a building block from somebody else's home. I mean, hard not to get stoked about that. Even though it doesn't look like much, it means a lot, and all eyes are on that developing tail. Or maybe it's not a tail, but 3I Atlas is moving closer to the sun. There's still so much we don't know.
So after discovered, scientists quickly realized that 3I Atlas isn't behaving like any comet we've ever seen. That's why the questions were rising. Well, is it a comet then? It's more actively, it's chemically different, and it's emitting strange light patterns that really have astronomers scratching their heads. And we will look at what has been discovered so far, what does that mean, and why does Harvard's Avi Loeb think it might be more than just a natural comet?
And you are talking with your astronomer buddies about the possibility that this is a megastructure, like an artificial megastructure.
The question is whether the reflection of sunlight is coming from a solid surface, in which case, as you pointed out, it could be as big as 40 kilometers, twice as big as Manhattan Island, or maybe a dense cloud of dust. Now, until recently, we haven't seen dust being pushed back behind the object by the solar radiation pressure. And so one had to conclude that perhaps we are seeing a giant object.
We have to look at the nucleus of 3I Atlas. That's basically the solid core of Atlas. It's hopefully, let's say it's a comet, right? The nucleus of a comet is made of rock, dust, and frozen gas. It's usually just a few miles across. Then a comet has a coma. That's a fuzzy cloud of gas and dust that forms when sunlight warms the nucleus and then ices start to sublimate. That means they turn directly from solid into gas. And the coma can grow to be tens of thousands of miles wide. And then a comet usually has a tail, the long bright streak that stretches away from the sun. Solar radiation and the solar wind push the comet's gas and dust outward. So the tail always points away from the sun. And here's something that I'll tell you just right now. What they discovered is also like, is there a tail on the opposite side? We will look into this. Then we have the perihelion. This is very important because we're reaching this. This is the point in the comet's orbit where it gets closest to the sun. And then we have a hyperbolic orbit. That it's basically an open trajectory. That means the object came from outside the solar system, will leave again, and will never return. So with that in mind, let's explore what astronomers have learned about this incredible visitor just in the last few days. So at first, when they discovered Atlas, 3I Atlas, third interstellar object Atlas, it looked like a fairly typical comet until scientists started measuring it closely. So from early data, they confirmed it was moving at a staggering speed of more than 50 kilometers per second. That's roughly 37 miles per second. And the shape of its orbit proved that it was not bound to the sun. So that's the telltale sign of an interstellar object. So, okay, no biggie. We already had two confirmed. This is the third. Then Hubble Space Telescope images revealed that its nucleus is less than 3.8 miles, that's 5.6 kilometers in diameter, far smaller than the early estimates, while its coma extended over hundreds of thousands of kilometers/miles.
But a rock that big is 1,000,000 times more massive than the previous interstellar objects that we've seen, Oumuamua and Borisov. That is quite unlikely. So either this is actually a dense cloud of dust that somehow did not produce until recently a tail, or this is not a rock. And in that case, maybe it's targeting the inner solar system.
And then even more surprising, older images that they had from this, NASA's TESS spacecraft, showed that 3I Atlas was already active back in May 2025. So a month before it was officially discovered. So and at that time, it was about 6 astronomical units, AU, from the sun. Nearly the distance of Jupiter's orbit. So usually when comets are at that distance from the sun, they are still completely frozen and inactive. But 3I Atlas wasn't. So from the beginning, it was clear this is not your ordinary comet. And the discoveries that they made in the last few days and weeks are just remarkable. Recent observations from the Gemini South Telescope in Chile show that 3I Atlas is becoming increasingly active as it moves closer to the sun. Its coma has expanded and a clear tail has formed. Now you might say, well, okay, then it's a comet, right? All good? Well, it's what is happening there. It's a sign that the comet's surface is venting gas and dust at high speed. Okay, we have the tail's length and speed and brightness increasing. That means the comet is now ejecting more material than before. And now the more sunlight it receives, the more it releases. And this comet seems to be flaring way earlier than most. But perhaps the most unexpected finding is coming from NASA's Swift Observatory, which detected hydroxyl OH emissions, a byproduct of water breaking apart under sunlight. And that even though the comet was 3 AUs away from the sun still. So to put that in perspective, that's about 3 times further away from Earth. At that distance, normal comets do not release much water at all because it's simply too cold. So why does it do this then? Where's the heat coming from? Because 3A Atlas was spewing water vapor at a rate of about 40 kilograms per second. This is like a cosmic fire hose blasting in deep space. Completely unusual. So this discovery, that's fact that it does that, guys, that suggests that the surface may contain exotic ices that are different than what we know, that evaporate at much lower temperatures than the ices that we are familiar with. That's the only scientific explanation, or its internal structure allows trapped gases to escape more easily than usual. Or it's the aliens, right? No, so let's look at the scientific stuff. We have data from the James Webb Space Telescope that has revealed something else extraordinary. The gas cloud that is around 3I Atlas is dominated by carbon dioxide, CO2, not water vapor, which is normally the main component of a comet's outgassing. So this is also completely different. So the ratio of CO2 and H2O is about 8:1. That's one of the highest ever measured. So that means this comet may have formed in a much colder region of its home star system, wherever that might be, or under very different chemical conditions. In other words, 3I Atlas might be showing us what comets from other planetary systems are made of. And if that's the case, they appear to be quite different from our own. But here comes something that I find most, strange, mysterious. What we have now discovered is a sunward jet. So things are getting even stranger. That's what I meant. It's not that we find more explanations that I'm like, okay, this is then, it's just that. No, it gets stranger by the day, it seems. A new observation described by Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb shows a jet of material actually pointing towards the sun. So normally the tail of a comet is pushed away by solar radiation. So a sunward jet seems absolutely to defy physics. How is that possible? Avi Loeb's images that are taken with the 2-meter twin telescope on the Canary Islands revealed a plume that's roughly 4,500 miles long. That's roughly 6,000 kilometers. And it's extending directly sunward. This is the purple line that you see on this picture. So this is called an anti-tail, a feature that appears to point towards the sun rather than away from it. In most cases, anti-tails are only an optical illusion caused by our viewing angle. But Avi Loeb argues that this one might actually be genuine, showing a jet of gas or dust being emitted from an unusual region on the comet's surface. And this guy's not an idiot or something. He's a very seasoned scientist. We will return to his full interpretation in a minute because it has sparked a major debate. This is how strange this object is, that a seasoned scientist is saying that. We also have strange light polarization. The dust is behaving differently, guys. Scientists are studying the way that Atlas scatters sunlight discovered that it has a very unusual polarization signature, technically described as a deep and negative polarization branch. I'll explain this to you in simple terms. It's just when sunlight hits these dust grains, the light becomes polarized, meaning it vibrates more in one direction than another. And by measuring this, scientists can infer the size, shape, and composition of that dust cloud. And Atlas's light behaves differently from any other comet ever studied, even different from the other two interstellar objects and all other solar system comets. So different than anything that we know. So this suggests that the dust grains of Atlas may be larger, more porous, or coated with, exotic materials that do not exist here. On October 3rd this year, Atlas passed about 29 million kilometers, like 21 million miles from Mars, giving orbiters like the ESA's Trace Gas Orbiter a chance to study it from a unique angle. Thankfully, we have this technology right now. Now it's speeding towards its perihelion, to its closest point to our sun. That will happen in just a few days, guys, on October 30th. It will have a distance at 1.4 AU. And what is very unfortunate is that from Earth, it will be hidden behind the sun for several weeks due to solar conjunction. But if there's spacecraft positioned elsewhere, they may be able to keep watching. Hopefully they will. So why does all this matter? Why is everyone so excited, frightened, scared, or focused on 3I Atlas? Because, of course, every interstellar object sends a message from another solar system. The chemical fingerprints that we observe, the CO2 dominance, the unusual dust, and even that green glow that even can be seen by amateur astronomers, they all tell us something about the conditions where it was born, like probably billions of years ago. But it also challenges our understanding of comets and how they behave. The fact that it's losing water and other gases far from the sun means that we could maybe come to the conclusion that interstellar objects as a whole, comets, may have a different internal structure, possibly more porous, or with exotic ices, more like carbon monoxide, or even nitrogen that vaporize at much lower temperatures. But let's get back to Harvard professor R.V. Loeb's view.
Professor, I know very early on, before we had a little bit more fidelity here, I asked you, and you're like, it's probably a comet. Is it becoming less and less likely of a comet here in your eyes?
For now, I rank it 4 on the scale that I define that is called the Loeb scale, where 0 is a natural object and 10 is a technological object.
He's an astrophysicist, and he has given us new information that really has been stirring discussion about the sunward jet. So in his latest report, he presents telescope images showing a distinct jet or plume that's pointing directly towards the sun, which he estimates stretches about 6,000 kilometers, 4,700 miles from the comet's nucleus. And he argues that this feature cannot be easily explained by standard comet behavior. And then he lists us several oddities: its size, its trajectory, timing, composition, and alignment with planetary planes, calling them Dayenu moments, meaning each one alone would already make the comet unusual. So it has not only one strange thing, several that he points out. And again, he's not the tinfoil hat guy. He's not a conspiracy theorist or anything else. So, but all of them taken together, they might point to something extraordinary in his opinion. So Loeb doesn't claim outright that 3I Atlas is an alien artifact or spaceship or anything, but he suggests that we should keep that possibility open. And that is crazy enough coming from a guy like him. So he frames it as a scientific curiosity rather than a conclusion. And he says that anomalies like this deserve a data-driven investigation rather than dismissal. So what is a jet, scientifically speaking? A jet is a narrow stream of gas and dust that bursts from localized vents on a comet's surface when sunlight heats specific regions. And these jets can change direction as the comet rotates. We know that. But what about that anti-tail that's pointing towards the sun? That's a feature that appears to point towards the sun. And usually, again, it's just a trick of optical illusion, a trick of perspective. When we view a dust sheet nearly edge on. But what Loeb argues is that the sunward jet is a real physical emission, the jet that Atlas has here, and that it's not a geometric effect. His theory is very controversial because most experts believe that the sunward plume can be explained naturally, for example, by a combination of rotation, uneven surface activity, or unusual viewing geometry. But Loeb argues that, this new phenomena can open the door to new ideas and even bold ones. So what's next for Atlas? Over the next few months, it will continue its journey around the sun before it's vanishing forever in the dark of interstellar space. We will watch out for the perihelion on October 25th, and then in November, a solar conjunction. It will be hidden behind the sun from Earth's view, but hopefully Mars orbiters and solar watching spacecraft like SOHO may still be able to collect data. Then in December, from December onward, it will reemerge, and then the astronomers will have a brief chance, another brief window to study its fading tail and determine whether it fragments or stabilizes.
The thing about it is that it's moving along a trajectory that is very special.
Harvard physicist Avi Loeb has been tracking the object named 3I Atlas.
When it arrives closest to the sun, the Earth would be on the opposite side, and we won't be able to observe it. But that's exactly the time when it could do a maneuver to slow down and visit us. And one wonders whether this trajectory was designed by some extraterrestrial intelligence.
And then, of course, ongoing studies will follow. NASA, ESA, and other observatories are coordinating with each other to analyze its gas composition, the rotation, the dust polarization, and light curve to better understand, hopefully, how interstellar comets behave and not aliens. So the bigger picture, definitely what Atlas is teaching us, that our solar system is not unique, that there's other systems. Countless other systems flinging their own comets and asteroids into the galaxy. It seems occasionally one is drifting into our neighborhood. But it brings with it the chemical story of a completely different world. Hopefully, only the chemical story. So while it's approaching the perihelion now, it might brighten up, fracture, or surprise us with something else again. I wouldn't be surprised about that. So guys, follow my channel, like and hype it for the updates that I will definitely give you as this comet is continuing to captivate us with its mystery. If you want to fill me up with coffee to keep me going, guys, link is in the description, buymeacoffee.com/silky. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for everyone who's doing this. Thank you for your supers, guys. Thank you for your ongoing support with the memberships, with your comments, with watching, with being here. Thank you, and check out the videos in the end screen, guys. Unbelievable. I'll see you there. Bye.